This is part 5, the solubility test. And so what I've been doing now is adding 2 milliliters of water to the back row of test tubes and 2 milliliters of methanol to the front row. And I'm finishing off the last 2 test tubes here. Alright. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to add amino acid known as valine, an amino acid known as glycine, and then regular table sugar, which is known as sucrose. And then over here we have mineral oil and SDS, which is just a detergent. And so we're going to start off looking at what happens when we add these substances to the water, and we'll kind of mix it a little bit and see if it dissolves or not. And then we're going to do the same. We're going to add all these in that order to the methanol and see if it dissolves. Alright, so you have all those instructions right here in table form, and if we're going to add a liquid, we're going to do 4 drops of that. Alright, so we're going to start with the water. I'm going to take my valine, which is an amino acid. I'm just going to do a little tip of the spatula, and I'm going to try to not get it stuck on the walls. And we'll shake it around a little bit. We'll take a look at it later. And then I'm going to add valine also to the methanol. Alright. Then we're going to do the glycine, another amino acid. We'll add it to the water. Alright. And we'll add it to the methanol. Then we'll do our table sugar known as sucrose. It's hard to get up. It doesn't stay on. Test tube 3. And we'll add some sucrose to the methanol. And then we're over to our liquids. So we're going to start with mineral oil. We're going to do 4 drops into test tube 4, and this is with water. Alright, and we'll do 4 drops into the methanols. So it's not really a super exact. If you happen to get 5 or even 6, it's not a problem. And then we're going to add this SDS, which is a detergent, and detergents are amphipathic molecules. And so we're going to add this SDS to the water. Stir it around a little bit, and then we're going to add SDS to test tube 5 for the methanol. Whoops. A little bit more. As I said, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's take a look at this and compare and see what happens. I have all the substances added according to this table into the methanol tubes and the water tubes. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to record our observation in this table, and we're going to try to really mix it. So let's start here with test tube 1, that we have water and methanol. And so what we added here is valine. As you can see, it's this whitish, big, flaky powder. So let's see if that we were able to dissolve valine. So I'm going to just kind of shake it. This is water. and record your observations. All right, let's move on to methanol and valine, same white flaky powder. And record your observations. All right, test tube 2, we added another amino acid. In this case, it's glycine. It's also white powder, but the flakes are not, they're not flakes. It's more like a powder. All right, so we added that to water and methanol in test tube 2. So here's my water. We'll shake it and see what happens. So I'll shake it now. And record those observations. We'll move on to methanol. Methanol, we'll shake it. Okay. So did glycine. All right. So the third test tube, we added just regular table sugar sucrose. Let's see if I can get that up here. It's kind of what you would expect it to look like from your kitchen. And so in water, all right. So did it dissolve, mix? What happens when you put it in coffee? Alright, and then we have it in methanol here. Okay, so next we have mineral oil, and you can record if the mineral oil will be floating on top or sinking to the bottom or mixing. And so here we have water, and I put about 4 or 5 drops of mineral oil in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake it, and then I'm going to see what happens. Alright, I really got it emulsified here for a little bit, but we can come back to it and see what happens when it stands a little longer. So in the meantime, we'll take a look at mineral oil and methanol. And so if I start off just shaking it gently to not emulsify it, the mineral oil actually sank to the bottom. Alright, so we'll go back and take a look at water. This is mineral oil and water. We let it sit for a little while. See if that made any difference. And mineral oil and methanol. Alright, our last tube is the Sds Detergent, and so we're going to shake it and see what happens. Oops, I guess we can record that. And let's see what happens when you put Sds or detergent into methanol. Alright, so this is methanol SDS, and this is water and SDS. And so that's part 5.